So let's take a breath together. Maybe two more. And one more just to get right here into this moment. Welcome to Center for Spiritual Living, Port Angeles, on a beautiful summer evening. I'm Reverend Asha Burson-Johnson. My preferred pronouns are she, her, and it is my joy to have you with us this evening. Our theme for the month is Creative Maladjustments. Tonight is our last talk for June. Here we are, halfway through the year already. It's crazy. Tonight we're talking about embody our good. Embody our good. So we'll dive more deeply into that. I have no announcements. So let's read together our vision and our mission. I invite you to join me out there in the world if you're joining us on Facebook or joining us on, what should be right? It's right here.
Oh.
In your program.
I'll give it for
All the information is in the program. Well, not all of it.
All of it.
Otherwise, what would you need me for? So our vision. We are an open, safe, creative, affirming, and thriving spiritual community where we experience divine love and connection every day. Our mission. Through spiritual, artistic, and social gatherings, we experience and express divine love. Our intentions create ripples of compassion into the world. Our opening song is Love in Everything. PJ, can you mute you guys? Oh, good, perfect, they did. Okay, good. Let's start over. Love is in everything I do. Love is in everything I see. Love is in everything I am. Revealing me. Revealing me. Love is in everything I do. Love is in everything I see. Love is in everything I am. Revealing thee. Revealing thee. Love is in everything I do. Love is in everything I see. Love is in everything I am. Revealing thee. Revealing thee. Last time. Love is in everything I do. Love is in everything I see. Love is in everything I am. Revealing thee. Revealing thee. Revealing thee. Thank you, Michael. I invite our practitioner for the evening, Sky Sternberg, to do our opening reading. A brief time of silence that I will bring out with the crystal bowl. He'll give us an opening prayer and then lead us in our affirmation, which is in the program that I sent to you on email or also posted on Facebook.
So tonight's quote is from Stephen Maraboli, and I'm going to read it twice. There is nothing more rare nor more beautiful than the person being unapologetically themselves, comfortable in their perfect imperfection. To me, that is the true essence of beauty. There is nothing more rare nor more beautiful than a person being unapologetically themselves, comfortable in their perfect imperfection. To me, that is the true essence of beauty. tonight, when Asha told me earlier today about the theme of embodying the good, it rings to me, it's just all about being ourselves, that we are indeed the good, we are of the Creator, and Spirit flows through each and every one of us. And as such, we bring the most of our love and our peace and everything we have to share with the world in a paramount sense when we choose to truly be ourselves, truly stand in who we are, truly stand in what we're about, love from our core, and live in that place alone. And as we begin to stand in that place more and more, we unfold all that is not us. We release all that is not truly of being. And as we release that, we begin to show more and more each and every moment. And I give thanks for this moment, and I give thanks for this meeting tonight, and all that's going to be shared in this meeting, all the love, all the support, all the growth, and the oneness that we all are as a community, that we stand together in love, and so it is.
And so it is.
The application for today, second, pull it up. Okay. Are you ready?
Mm-hmm. I uncover old patterns, beliefs, and hidden trauma in my body. I am willing to discover how these have limited my life and how I can release them for my good and the good of all. Thank you, Sky. Beautiful. We have some special music with Michael.
I am healed in God's love. I am healed in God's love. I am healed
Thank you. That was beautiful. So I love when the synchronicities of life become super obvious. I was invited to participate in an online Facebook group, a Love Your Body boot camp, Monday through Friday of this last week, every morning at 9, with a woman that I did a women's retreat with. I went to a women's retreat. Wasn't the leader of the retreat. I went as a participant just before everything shut down. We were over in Whidbey Island, and literally some of those people were lucky they got home on a plane after the weekend was over, or the week was over. So this Love Your Body boot camp, she's been talking a lot about trauma that we carry in our bodies, that something happens when we're little and the cells need to be protected because this trauma has happened, and then all this padding, all this protection gets piled on around the cells. And how, for those of us in this particular class or boot camp, a lot of us are wanting to release some of the heaviness that we're carrying around every day, both emotional and physical. And it all starts in the body. It all starts with the emotions, and it all starts with stored trauma. So they were talking about that. That was the theme of this week. And there were some lovely things that I uncovered for myself in this process. And then I'm actually listening to a book on Audible that I'm going to be using with a book study that we're starting in a couple of weeks, called My Grandmother's Hands. And it's a book about the embodied racism that we are all born into, that is generational, that is like goes back 13, 15, 20 generations, that we carry with us. Now they can see that we actually can carry trauma in the blood, in the genetic code, in DNA. And the good news is we can also heal that so we don't have to pass it along, which is very exciting. But it's all about this idea of that we carry trauma and it's in our bodies, and we can't truly heal until we recognize it and let it go. And that sounds so easy, right? Sounds so easy. We're just going to let go of our trauma, no problem. So we're going to dive a little bit into that. We're clearly not going to do all the work tonight, but I know through the book there are all kinds of embodied processes that we will be working with, and that maybe this will kind of stoke some curiosity in you, or maybe pull up some questions. So that's what I want to talk about tonight. It's hard to embody our good if we're filled up with other stuff, if we're filled up with trauma and pain and dis-ease. Dis-ease. I love separating that word, because that's really what's going on when we have an illness, is it's dis-ease that's happening in our body and manifesting as something that's showing up as an illness or a malady. So he says in the book, the author of the book says, trauma lives in our body, not in our brain. Our brain might be able to tell the story about what happened, maybe it doesn't even know what the story is, but our trauma lives in our body. When something happens, mostly when we're little, that's too much, too fast, or too loud, just too much, there's a reaction that happens in our reptilian brain, in our lizard brain. Long before whatever happened can actually get to our thinking brain, there's this soul cord, like our spinal cord or our vagus nerve, that gets activated. It's our reptile brain, and it tells you to fight, flight, freeze, or rest. That's all the lizard brain is programmed to do. Rest, fight, flight, or flee. If you think about lizards, if you ever watched lizards, that's really all they do. They sleep, they go, what's that? Okay, it's all right. What's that? I gotta run. That's what we're doing in our lizard brain all the time. What's that? Is it dangerous? What should I do about that? I don't know. Let me think. We get all wound up. this particular sentence really struck a chord in me. He says, trauma is not a design flaw. Think about that. Trauma is not a design flaw. It is a spontaneous, protective body mechanism used to thwart further or potential future damage. To thwart further, in this moment, it's coming at me, how do I avoid the damage? Or in our very creative brains, the potential future damage that might happen from whatever's going on. So somebody yells at us, cuts us off on the freeway, is mean to us in the grocery store because we're wearing a mask or whatever. And our reptilian brain, our lizard brain, goes right into action way before our rational, executive thinking brain up here has a chance. And we see that a lot in the world right now, right? Everybody's reptile brains are really active. What do you mean I can't do this? What do you mean I'm supposed to do that? I don't like the way they're telling, all our lizard brains are really active right now. I love this. It is a spontaneous protective body mechanism. It's a mechanism. And then the challenge becomes when it runs our life, when it gets to be in charge and our executive brain doesn't get to have a say, when everything is left up to our lizard brain. In research, they've discovered that all input, whatever's happening, goes to the lizard brain first, way before our thinking brain, our executive functioning can happen. So if that's the case, let's just presume this is true. What do we do about that? Well, we get to recognize that that's happening. I've been noticing for myself as I'm doing this work, as I'm doing the listening of reading in this book, I'm going to just say reading. As I'm reading this book, as I did the boot camp, I'm noticing how much my lizard brain is in charge. My husband says something very innocuous. How much money is in our checking account? My lizard brain goes right into protective mode. Why is he asking me that? Does he think I don't know what's in our checking account? Just because I kind of handle our checkbook and I keep track of everything? Does he think I'm not doing my job? Of course I don't know that right at the moment. I have to go look at my checkbook. I don't remember those numbers. Like this whole cascade of bullpucky starts coming out of me before I can almost even catch myself. And what I'm noticing is, as I'm paying attention to my own body, I am catching myself a little quicker. I'll start to get the reactive behavior or the reactive defense mechanism. And then I'll go, wait a minute. What actually just happened here? He asked me a question. And he's not trying to trick me or trip me up or make me look stupid because he loves me. He doesn't want me to be miserable and defensive. He hates it when I get defensive. When he's just asking me a simple question. So, can we train ourselves to recognize, oof, that's my lizard brain. It really it's like looking for, what do I do to protect you? It's trying to protect us. And our job as grown-ups is to just really love it and say, I got this. You don't have to protect me right now. If a lion's running at us, yes, run. But how many lions do we have in our life? Not that many. We'll know when it's appropriate to fight or flee or faint or rest, maybe. Some of us are not so good at knowing when we should rest. So we can learn through the process of checking in with our body. Where is this living in me? Where is shame living in me? Where is fear living in me? Where is resentment living in me? Where is it in my body? That's at the beginning. I've talked earlier in talks this month and last month about mistakes, making mistakes, and that we can notice them, that we can accept them, basically acknowledge them, and then we can learn from them. But it's the same thing with our lizard brain. We can notice it. That's step one. If that's all we do, that's a big leap forward in recognizing that we're not run by that we can move beyond that. So can we notice it? Can we acknowledge it? Oof, I just had a big reaction when you said that. I noticed my face got flushed, my stomach got tight, my heart started pounding. Can we check in with the body? In nonviolent communication, they use this model a lot. What am I observing? Observing doesn't mean intellectually, it means what's happening in my body in this moment where I want to react. So we observe, we notice, we acknowledge. Oof, maybe we can acknowledge it out loud to somebody, or maybe just to ourselves. Wow, oof, I just noticed I got really plugged in right there. You know, the kids say triggered. I got really triggered. And that's the same idea. I got really plugged in that moment. My lizard brain is super active. So in the book, he talks about pain. He talks about the differentiation between clean pain and dirty pain. And I really like the differentiation of these two ideas. He says clean pain is pain that mends and builds our capacity for growth. When you know what to do or say and you really don't want to, and you do it anyway. When you know what to do or say and you don't want to, but you do it anyway, and you do it anyway, we respond then from the best parts of ourselves. Back when I was 35, way back when I was 35, and my mother was my first spiritual counselor, coach, minister. I would go to her, not as her daughter, but as a congregant for spiritual counseling. And she would ask me the questions I did not want to answer. Every single time she would ask me questions I did not want to answer. I knew what the answer was. I didn't want to say it. I knew that it would force me to grow. And there was a part of me that wanted to stay stuck. My lizard brain really likes being in charge. It's like, no, don't do this. I like to be in charge. That's what a good spiritual coach does, or a good counselor does, or a good coach does, is they ask you the hard questions. They push you to discover something new about yourself. Several times in this Love Your Body boot camp, she's on Facebook. All we're doing is typing in answers. There's nobody in front of me, but she's live, and she's asking us questions. Type yes if this is true for you. Type yes if this is true for you. And several times, I did not want to type yes when I knew the answer was yes. And I did it anyway. I was vulnerable and authentic with this. It's a closed group. I know it's not going anywhere else. And I noticed tears frequently arising in the process. That's clean pain. Clean pain is when it's like, oh, I feel that. That's so deeply true, and I can't speak it out loud. And I need to. In this past week, I've had some hard conversations with my husband. We have a great relationship. We love each other very much. But for some reason, lately, we've been kind of traveling along side by side, but not really connected in the way that we both want to be. And we both have moved into that space of, well, I guess neither one of us really want to broach this subject. We'll just exist, go day by day next to each other. Because we're not going anywhere. We're clear we're not getting a divorce. And we made an agreement a long time ago. We could go through life, for the rest of our lives, live in our own life in the same house, or we can push through whatever challenges we're going up against. And I've noticed, especially during this shutdown time, both of us have sort of abdicated the responsibility or the willingness to have the conversations that it's time that we have. So I pulled up my big girl panties and I said, okay, can we talk about this? And got very vulnerable and very real. And it was really awkward and really uncomfortable and beautiful. The pain was clean. And we ended up connected, closer, more committed to moving through life next to each other, but connected, which is lovely. I've had conversations with people in my life I really didn't want to have. Oh, they're going to probably freak out on me if I talk about this. They're not going to want to talk about this. And then I work myself up into, I have 75 pre-conversations, right? Well, then I'm going to say, and then they're going to say, and then it's going to go like, that's all the reptile brain trying to trick us into not having that conversation. Just run away. Just cut them out of your life. And every time I've been willing to say, hey, I really love you, and I noticed we're separate, and I don't want that. Let's talk. It's always gone completely different from the millions of stories I made up in my head about how it was doomed to fail. It's always ended in a place of connection. Like, I'm trying to rack my brain. Was there a time that it didn't? I can't even think of one. Even if it meant that we had to separate as friends or in a relationship, the willingness to talk about it at least gave us some sense of resolution and closure. Dirty pain is the pain of avoidance, blame, or denial, responding from our most wounded parts. The reactions that I have are from old pain, from my first marriage, in my 20s. I'm almost 60. I have a different relationship with my husband than I had with my former husband. I have a lot more skills and a lot more wisdom. He's different and I'm different. And yet I notice my reptilian brain wants to react to him the way that I reacted when I was 25, 26, 27 years old. There's trauma in there I haven't healed. And it's time. Like, if not now, when? I noticed I was dancing around with dirty pain until I was willing to talk to my husband. I was dealing in avoidance, blame, and denial. Completely. And I could feel it. I felt gross. My stomach hurt. My chest hurt. I could feel it. All the unspoken, unexpressed stuff. And I don't want to carry around that stuff, because then it might manifest in dis-ease. I want to get that out of me. He also says trauma happens just like that, super fast. It's a fast reaction and it gets embedded quickly. The work to disengage this trauma, we get to go slowly. Most of us, or at least me, I'm going to talk about me, I'm impatient as heck. I want things to, if it came in quick, let's get rid of it quick, right? And there are spontaneous healings. We shortchange ourselves if we think that we can do this quickly. So the willingness is to go slowly, step by step, learning how to trust and check in with our own body, not to shortchange its experience or bypass experience or go right to, I know everything is perfect and good in the universe, but to stop and say, what's happening inside of me right now? And does it match the event or the occurrence that just occurred? When that person cuts us off on the highway and we want to chase them down and kill them, it usually means there's something else going on. When someone cuts in front of us in line at the grocery store or has 16 items in the 15 or less aisle, and we just want to go ballistic on them, maybe that's trauma. Maybe that's something else and not what the situation is calling for. But boy, that reptilian lizard brain wants to be in charge. Essel van der Kolk says, once you start approaching your body with curiosity rather than fear, everything shifts. Once you start approaching your body with curiosity rather than with fear, everything shifts. The woman who did the workshop shared a process where she had written her body a letter years ago. I hate you so much. You're ugly, you're hideous, you're fat, you're tired. I mean, just a screed against her body. And then she wrote a letter from her body back to herself. I'm so sorry. I do this because of this. She discovered an amazing bit of trauma that had happened to her when she was little, where she learned to not take up too much space, to be small, to be invisible, to be unseen. And so she forced herself to take up more room in the world by being bigger. When she talked about that and shared that story, I recognized for myself the way I talk to my body a lot. And I know better. I know better. And yet I noticed how I talk to myself when I don't pay attention. So today I'm getting dressed and I started saying things like, thank you, stomach, for being there and holding the food that I eat and processing and digesting so well. I love you, stomach. Thank you, butt, for, thanking the parts of myself that I have been very judgmental about my whole life. It's fascinating what we do to ourselves. It's fascinating the way we can't see ourselves for the beautiful, magnificent creations we actually are. How we would never allow somebody else, or maybe not never, but rarely would allow another being to treat us and to say the things that we say to ourselves. You clearly have no ambition because look at your life. You should have had this by now. Everybody else does. Envy, jealousy, judgment, comparison, and we miss the beauty. I've shared before seeing the beauty in my husband's 102-year-old grandma. Every wrinkle, every line, every crease, every part of her body. And I saw every part because we showered together. It was way easier. And she was beautiful to me. She looked like the fertility goddesses that we see from ancient times. And she was beautiful. What do I look like? Fertility goddess from ancient times. And yet somehow that was not okay. So I invite you to notice with compassion the way you talk to yourself, the words you use. Maybe write a letter from your body to you and just see what emerges. Be willing to feel it. That's clean pain. That's pain that will release the festering wound of judgment, envy, regret, shame. Can we just speak it? What's true? What's going on in my body right now is this. The labels I put on that are X. In a nonviolent communication, what do I observe? And then what's the label, the feeling label that I put on that? Scared, mad, happy, whatever. We can notice happy sensations. Joy, where is joy in your body? Where are these things in our body? It also helps us to practice discernment then. Is that little flutter fear, or as other people call it, excitement? It's kind of the same chemistry. So what do we want to call that? Feeling in our belly. Are we letting it propel us forward or hold us back? One of the phrases that popped into my head, and again, it's come from many places, synchronicities all happening. My new phrase when I'm about to eat something is, am I eating this for fuel or am I eating this from fear? Is this fuel or fear? Just by asking the question creates a pause that doesn't let the lizard brain say, I need to eat this now to feel better. And I don't really even eat all that much, especially junky foods. I don't. And yet, look at all the protection I have. So I'm just interested to see, as I continue down this path, what happens. I'm not dieting. I'm not doing yet another program. I'm not going to take pills. I'm not going to do any of that stuff. I'm going to look at my relationship with my body, and can I get that lizard brain to calm down long enough to create a space, a pause between a thought and an action, just to create a breath, a gap, a space where maybe my executive function has a chance of kicking in before the reptilian brain takes over. So I'm going to invite you into a little body practice. I'm going to lead you through this, and you can close your eyes if you'd like. Don't worry, it's nothing scary. So this is just about connecting with our bodies. So I invite you to take a deep breath. Breathe in deeply. With the next breath, ground yourself. Feel the energy of the earth coming up through your feet or your seat. Just feel the energetic flow of life coming up from the earth. Feel the outline of your skin and the air pressure around you. Notice where the skin meets the air. Feel the pressure of the seat below you, or the floor, or the bed, wherever you are. Feel the pressure of that support. Can you sense hope in your body? Can you sense hope in your body? And try to identify where that is. Where is hope in your body? Is it a feeling of release or expansion or a tightening of eagerness? What specific hopes accompany these sensations? Hopes for your own life? Hopes for a better world? Hopes that we actually can hug each other soon? Take a breath. Do you experience any fear in your body? Where is it? How does it manifest? Tightness? Pain? A hard spot? Clenching? Constriction? Heat? What worries accompany that particular fear? Are there any pictures that arise? Do you feel both hope and fear? Congratulations. You're human. Take a deep breath. One more. and come back into the space. A friend of mine is a counselor. She's a retired counselor. And she says, back in the day, she's been a counselor for almost 40 years. And she said, we didn't know anything about body processes. We did talk therapy and reliving of the accounts of what happened and all of that. And that has a place. But what research is discovering is that the most effective way to heal, the most effective way to release trauma, the most effective way to move forward is to go into the body. The body holds everything. And what we're learning with racism is that it's carried forth generation after generation. How many families do we know about that abuse is generational, alcoholism is generational, and yet one person makes a decision, enough is enough is enough. I'm going to break this cycle. If it was inevitable, they would never be able to do that. And yet millions of people have broken a cycle, generational cycle, by deciding to do something different, by making a choice, getting support, practicing slowly, incrementally, sequentially, cumulatively, to build a deeper awareness, to get the reptilian brain to be calm and quiet. You can rest now, lizard. Just sit up here on my shoulder and take a nap. I've got this. You don't have to protect me anymore. We can wrap up that little tiny self that felt that it needed to do what it needed to do to protect itself, shut down, get big, be loud, whatever it does to try to protect us. We can wrap that little self up and say, it's okay, honey. I got you. I got you. Take a deep breath. I will have some announcements coming out next week about how we're going to move forward as a center, given the world the way it is. So stay tuned for that in an email. I'm also probably going to invite all of us to come together in person, if at all possible, physically distant, so we can actually see each other and have some conversations. So I'll send out information about that and fill you in on all that later. Don't worry, we're not going anywhere. The forms may change. The intention is still here. To be a world that works for everyone, to play our part in that, and to continue to be a peaceful and loving and kind and compassionate place where we can all find connection and authenticity and express vulnerability in a space that's safe, where we can help each other to quiet our lizard brain so that we can have a rich, full, abundant, free, joyful life. And when we do experience pain, upset, uncertainty, or trauma, we have a place to go to be supported. I think that's all I want to say. Take another breath. Michael's going to share another beautiful song with us.
I am standing on sacred ground. I hear God's voice in every sound. I see God's face everywhere around. For I am standing on sacred ground. I am standing on sacred ground. I hear God's voice in
right where we are is sacred ground. This is sacred ground. Our beingness, our life. I've said it before, I'll say it again. The energy of the universe, the love of the universe, the powerful presence of the One chose to coalesce atoms together to make a you and a me. And it could have made a planet and a tree with the same energy. It could have created another river or a beautiful peony with the same energy it takes to make an us. So that means that we are sacred ground. We are the divine in form. So let us treat ourselves that way. Amen. I don't know where that came from, but it came. So I invite us to bless our conscious gifts that have come. If you choose to put anything in the bowl, the couple of people that are here, I invite you to do that. We're just going to know that we are so grateful for the conscious gifts coming into this center and the way that they flow out into the world through so many blessings. Our baggy ministry, our little free pantry, and all the good that we do in the world. I am so grateful to be a part of this amazing community. I am so grateful, and so it is. I invite us into our closing song. Open up my heart like a rose. Open up my heart like a rose. Let the love flow out and in. Turn off the mind that thinks it knows where I'm going and where I've been. Om mani padme om, om mani padme om, om mani padme om, om mani padme om. Open up my heart like a rose. Let the love flow out and in. Turn off the lizard brain that thinks it knows where I'm going and where I've been. Om mani padme om, om mani padme om, om mani padme om, om mani padme om. Last time. Open up my heart like a rose. Let the love flow out and in. Turn off the lizard brain that thinks it knows where I'm going and where I've been. Om mani padme om, 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 om mani padme om. Thank you all. It's been a great June. I look forward to July. Thank you for joining us on Zoom. Thank you for joining us out there when I post this video. Thank you for joining us here. I am so grateful, grateful, grateful.